if you are a new agent and you don't have that support structure, I think it's important to, you guys have heard the adage kind of slow down to speed up, right? So as you're starting out as a new agent, don't discredit the importance of like documenting your journey every step of the way.
This is the Be More Show for agents, where you'll find real talk, and ambition. We're here to build real businesses and be more than your average agent. We want to know what killers are actually doing within their businesses, the reality of it, all tactical, no fluff. So we're here to find out. Please share and enjoy. What is up, John Fortier?
Hey, what's up?
Dude, I've called you
Perfect.
Fortier. No, I don't know, just wrong every single time until this moment.
I like Fortier.
Your last name.
That's what happens. Yeah.
Fortier.
Some people throw in an N, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Well, regardless of how your last name is pronounced, we're actually very excited to have you here, even though we've done nothing but talk you behind the scenes so far.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's going to be great.
Dude,
I'm stoked.
100%. Okay, so the first time I met you, this was like 2019, I think. You were an investor client of Dan Kidd, one of the OG pillars back in the day in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And he actually spoke very highly of you, said you were in ownership of your life and action in all of the correct ways. And so then fast forward, you were like, Army, I've had a great time with you. It's time to move on. And now you got your license, you're doing investor things, and you have continued to be. It's very exciting. Yeah.
It's been something like that. Definitely rocky. Yeah.
Something like that. And I have the stats to prove it. So you're in Fort Bragg. Your niche is first-time homebuyers / new investors, because you are an investor yourself. And within the last 6 months, you've been an agent for 6 months. You've done 10 personal closings for you as an investor, 6 closings as an agent, and you currently have 3 pending, which is amazing. A lot of people in their first 6 months haven't done. Maybe they made 1 call. So super major congratulations. You are on a husband and wife team. And your most impressive achievement here, we have this. In passive investments, you've doubled what the Army retirement will pay you in 3 years because of focused work, which I love. And your total volume is over 2 million. So I like that. And for Fort Bragg numbers, that's good. So that's really good.
The craziest part, I think, is that like it's the 6 months. So this is like the episode of, the first 6 months as an agent. And the fact that you've done all of that is very cool. You're okay. Actually, you're all right. You're not that cool.
It's been interesting so far, but yeah, it's been busy. It's been good.
Okay, well, John, you probably know this by now. We start off each show with a show moment where we get to break you down. We get to laugh at you, not with you, just at you. So what is your show moment?
Well, first, let's address the elephant in the room. I didn't realize that I had so many friends in my inner circle that have issues with their pants. Let's start with that, because apparently it's a trend within this group that's unspoken of. So,
and now it's out there. It is spoken now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I would have shared it quite that way, but it's interesting to hear. I was thinking about this. So probably one of the most, let's call it, embarrassing moments of my life. I was young, probably 10 or 11 years old. And, that's that time where in your life where like things are starting to change. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of growing up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I remember there was this girl, and I just happened to be, starting to gain interest in girls. Right. And, my family decided to do this big barbecue event where they invited all their friends, and, everybody's drinking, hanging out, and having beers. And I've been looking forward to this barbecue all week because this girl that I was starting to dig was coming over with her parents. And if you know anything about me, I'm kind of like redneck, backwoods, kind of weird family, like drinking beer, watching each other wrestle in the backyard is kind of how I grew up. And, they ended up showing up at the house for this barbecue event. And I started wrestling with her dad, right? Like that was the thing. So me and her dad were starting. Yeah, me and her dad were like, just like good old boys, like whatever, wrestling, whatever, messing with the kids. And so picture this, like everybody is out here for this event. At the time it seemed like 1,000 people, right? But there's probably 30 whatever people out there, right? Kids running around doing stuff and all the grownups kind of hanging out.
We love your DMs on Instagram, and as long as you don't sound like a bot or aren't sharing your overnight crypto success, hit us up on Instagram. Let's be friends. We're at The Shelby Show and at Allie the Agent.
So all these people around watching me like wrestle with this grown man, right? And at some point within this chaos of a wrestling match, like what traditionally happens is like you grab the kid upside down by his ankles and you start kind of shaking him, something like that. You've seen that before. Well,
that's how I used to get my lunch money. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, in this transition of chaos, I'm upside down, and in the transition of going upside down, my pants and my underwear end up around my ankles.
Oh.
And then gravity is doing its thing, like pulling my shirt around my head, and I don't notice it while it's happening. And the person shaking me doesn't notice it while it's happening. And I'm just getting there like embarrassingly shaken, butt naked as like an 11-year-old kid who's going through all kinds of changes, all right in front of this girl that I was starting to dig. And that was it. That's kind of how the story ends. Super embarrassing.
That is,
but that's what came to mind.
Child pornography.
Whoa, let's not get crazy.
Such a visual with that one. That was
traumatized. So now vision me upside down naked being shaken around. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
I feel like
that's what I got.
I feel it for the dad. You know, can you imagine being the dad being like, "What did I just do?"
Dude, or the girl
shorts down.
Dude, she's like, I thought I liked him.
Yeah, and that's how I met my wife.
Fucking way.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Okay, I was like, Rebecca. Okay. Yeah. Show moment. Check. We did it. Okay. Take us a little bit before real estate, all the way up through where you are now with the real estate journey.
How far back we want to go? To
Not
the
that far.
beginning?
You're old as shit.
Okay.
We can't go that far.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there was like this, I've probably been in some sort of the personal development space for myself for probably a good 10 years, right? It was probably a pivotal change that got me, through my military career doing something that I liked. And it wasn't till about, I don't know, let's say 2017-ish, where I knew my Army career was coming to an end. And I started, as I was growing and learning, I realized that, retirement's great and the benefits from the military are great, but the numbers, they really don't add up when you're thinking about being financially free, right? Ultimately, most people retire and have to find something else to do, usually something they don't like, to continue to make ends meet. So in 2017, I was at my 17-year mark and I knew it was coming to an end and I had to do something. And throughout that professional growth journey, I found the potentials of what real estate could be. And after a deployment, I came back from that deployment super fired up, scared the out of Rebecca because I was like, this is what we're doing. This is the path. Like, we're going to figure this out. I had no idea what I was doing, building it in flight. But that was kind of like the thing. So in 2019 is when we officially pulled the trigger and started. More?
What are you doing right now?
I didn't get questions. I'll talk the whole time.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to ask questions.
Yeah, generous. Kind, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So were you and your wife on the same page? Or like when you came back from this deployment, you're like, hey, real estate's the way. Was she already there? How did that interaction with spouses go?
Yeah, it was chaos. I was 100% drinking the Kool-Aid. and she had no idea what the I was talking about, right? Because I was
Best.
I was building this thing in my own head, my own vision, and it was almost one-sided for a long time. So when I came back, I had all these visions of grandeur, and she was like, "Whoa, slow down." And I'm like, I'm literally building it in flight. Um, but eventually, yeah, absolutely, she got on
Yeah,
board, and we've been
because
running together ever since.
she got her license before you.
She did,
So
yeah.
how'd you get that one done?
Yeah, so I had no intentions whatsoever of getting my real estate license. Like, we started off as investors working through Dan, right? Got the ball rolling, and she ended up getting her license because, I mean, we were, as a team, growing within the real estate space. From the investor side, we saw the potential, and she was working actually at, like, Womack, a hospital here in Fort Bragg, right? Decent money, secure job, but she hated it. Like, we were like, you had to ask for permission to take off work all the time, and it just wasn't conducive to what we wanted to do. So she ended up saying, like, you guys, and got her license a year before I did. And then I was like, well, she's making decent money. Let's just do this together and build our own team. And, we hang out all day and kind of work together. So,
Can we
she
clarify
started before
what
me.
team means? Because I know a lot of people, when they
Hmm.
hear the word team, they immediately think either high splits or
Yeah.
like they don't, so team is kind of a fuzzy word. What does it mean to you?
Yeah. So to us, it just means that we collectively work towards that end state. There is nothing written in, I guess, in our vows, right? There's nothing written outside of that to say we are a type of team, which, just to touch on that a little bit, EXP has an incredible program for that exact type of relationship, right? Domestic teams that essentially allow you to work with your spouse, um, together. There's a lot of benefits with that, but as a team, that's it. We work towards accomplishing whatever the goal is at the time.
I don't want this to be like a huge pitch, but I actually don't know what the benefit is of that spouse team. What is a benefit? Is that something about the cap,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So we've actually looked into transitioning into an official domestic team within EXP, and the biggest thing is a shared cap, right? So, I mean, we can get into the weeds if you want about what EXP requires for caps, but
Is it between the two of you guys? So like instead of, a solo agent with an EXP has the $16,000 cap, but with you guys, it's the two of you have one cap of 16,000?
correct. Yeah.
Oh, dude,
Correct.
that's sick.
That's really good.
Yeah. So, I mean, you cap, I mean, two agents working collectively towards the same thing, you can cap, I think, way faster.
Totally.
But
Okay,
Is that
makes
the only benefit, or is there something else too?
yeah, I don't know all the benefits off the top of my head. That's the most probably substantial benefit that I saw. They talk a little bit about, it doesn't matter to me, like icons. I could care less about that crap, but
now you might care later. Once
nope,
you're performing like an icon,
$16,000 back. Yeah.
Zero fucks. Yeah,
because you're not a stocks
Yeah.
dude. You don't give a fuck about stocks. Is that why?
no,
Or what?
I don't. If I can't touch it,
Oh.
I'm not interested.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, so that's kind of shaped your focus as why you went. One of the reasons probably why you went the real estate route is because you can touch it, the window.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I have a question. So, kind of got to the point where your wife has her real estate license, and now you guys have decided together to pursue the agent side of the house. Can you take us through the first couple months, like getting your license and then getting your foot in the door as an agent? Because you've done 6 closings in the first 6 months, which is way more than most people. So what does that look like for you?
So I think, a lot, we were helped out a lot by being in the investor space first, right? We understood the process of what it actually looked like and the transactional steps, of buying a house, because we had done it, throughout our investment career, if you will, the beginning of that. So when we both decided to get our license, it was, how can we do this, and how can we build it up to move very quickly through the process, right? And a lot of that was just having solid systems in place, based off the information we already knew, right? There's ultimately things that you don't know that happen in the background from the transaction perspective, but a lot of it we did, and we were able to just systematize how we wanted to attack moving forward and essentially, build it to scale as we were beginning.
You're speaking our language now.
Systematize. Let's go into the systems.
Yeah. So I think, again, what we had learned through the investor side was how do we create this business and have those foundational things in place so it can run without a lot of our input. And I'll go back to that, but we've tried to take those same principles and inject them into the agent side of it. Because like when we started in the investor side, I was, she still had a full-time job, right? I was still in the Army. I was constantly deploying. I was constantly going on, different training events and gone all the time. So this had to run as by itself as much as possible. And we were not, I don't want to say in the position to outsource all of it. I'm definitely a firm believer, especially in the investor side, that nobody's going to give a shit about your investments more than you. So I really had to understand the numbers and make sure that, those assets were being taken care of, and we were the ones doing it. And I'll give you an example about that, right? It was probably like maybe our third property. I had a property manager walk through it because we were thinking about making the transition. And we were talking like, well, how much do you think this thing would rent for? And he was like, probably about $915. We ended up getting $1,450 out of it.
Dude.
Oh. So, and that's huge. That's like a phenomenally different number compared to what a property manager was telling me. So immediately I knew like, okay, I can do this. It is not that complicated. I'm going to run it the way I want to and make sure I eke out every penny that I can with these assets. So we essentially took that same concept and made sure that as we were beginning in the transaction side, the real estate agent side, all those things were in place. And we can get into whatever you want in that regards.
Well, yeah, I'm curious. So you're talking about like building out systems, which a lot of people can't do until they've experienced real estate life. And you had on, I guess, the investor side, but the agent side is different. So if you are talking about building out, let's just take a piece of it. Let's say, which piece? Is it, interaction with the client, or do you want to do contract to close? What did you build out first, and how did you even attack that?
Yeah. So starting out, I never, we are just right now thinking about hiring a TC. We do it ourselves. And I know that goes against every grain of leverage and what everybody else says. But I think it's been helpful for us only because, or if anything, because it allows us to understand the industry better, which allows us to have better conversation with clients and helps them navigate that process, right? To initially get them under contract. We know exactly what's in that contract. So when they have some weird wazoo questions, we know how to answer it, and we're confident in how we answer that client, right? So in that aspect, I think it's been really helpful. I've never had an issue with talking to people, communicating back and forth. So I didn't focus a lot in regards to the system aspect of it with like role playing and what are you supposed to say and what are you supposed to do? What if the client says this and that? It's been literally just checklists. How does the process work? Have it on paper, like very linear, like if this, then that, have that dialed really in. And then how can I make this do that without almost any kind of input from my end?
So that first part, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Cause I'll ramble and I want to make sure.
The checklist where you're like, I want to know linearly everything that happened. Yeah. So you're a new agent. How do we even know what happens? Like what does that look like to build out that initial checklist?
Yeah. So not to keep going back to like the brokerage of EXP, they have a lot of good things, right? And I don't want this to be an EXP pitch, but within that, they have a mentorship program. So you have kind of a one-on-one, as you're working through the new agent processes. So my one-on-one was Rebecca, because she had her license before me, right?
And she is a
not
mentor. Got it.
And she is a mentor. Yeah. And she is a mentor, but isn't, at her truest self, she's not a systems person, right? So I am kind of like the systems person within the relationship. And she worked through a lot of hard things as she was getting her license and doing her first year. And then when I came in, just in the background, as I'm finishing up my license, I was like, okay, how do you keep track of this? Like, what do you do? And she's like, well, I just remember it was a common way that she would do it. I was like, no. Okay, we're not doing that starting now. So sit down. She sat down here with me. I'm like, okay, what is step one? What happens? Step two. And then what are the supporting tasks that come with those tasks? And wrote it out until it was too crazy to control on something like this. And we injected that process within a like a management software, project management tool.
Which one?
Monday. I'm a huge believer in Monday.com. I love it.
Yeah, I think this is really cool because this is something that like I'm thinking from the perspective maybe a new agent is like, dude, my wife hasn't been an agent for a year and I don't have a mentorship program. It literally could work with anyone who's been an agent and done a couple of reps where it's like, hey, let me buy you a cupcake. And will you sit here and I'll just talk and you eat your cupcake and I'll just ask you questions. And literally they could go with a pad and, a pad of paper and just write down, what do you do? What do you do? What does that look like? So it is that first step does logically make sense for anyone who wanted to do it. And then that second step is where we go into Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I was to, make a recommendation, even if you are a new agent and you don't have that support structure, I think it's important to, you guys have heard the adage kind of slow down to speed up, right? So as you're starting out as a new agent, don't discredit the importance of like documenting your journey every step of the way. You're going to learn new things every day. I mean, regardless of how long you've been in the industry, hopefully you're still learning and progressing. But through documenting your journey, you're able to figure out how you solved problems. When you were presented with certain things, what was the actual solution that led to success? And as you're documenting these things, you're also able to increase the efficiency of those things, right? So even if you don't have the support, don't be so focused on, I got my license and now I need to, and I will rabbit hole into that side of the topic if you want, but don't be so focused on, I got my license and like now I got to chase money, because you are setting yourself up for failure in the long run.
Yeah, I remember when I first got licensed, I did a couple of deals and I did maybe like one, I forget. I had a seller client first. And then I had like a bunch of buyers back to back. And then I had another seller client after I had like a bunch of buyers in between. So I had started out the checklist, but then also I didn't like fully do a deep dive into it, right? So then I have a listing again and I'm like, what happened between this part and this part? And that is what people will continue to run into if you don't write that down. Like, and you really do have to slow down because it is not quick. Like it
takes
not
a while.
Quick process. It takes a long time. I literally had to refer out other clients because I was working on my system instead. And I'm so glad I did that. But it's, if you don't write it down, you're going to be asking yourself the same question over and over again. Like, what did I do at that point? And you think sometimes agents will think that they'll remember, but they won't, like
they
you
all
don't
do.
know the next time. Yeah. Right. Like you have a listing now. Sure. You'll remember maybe for the next week, but what happens if you don't have another listing for a month or, whatever it is? It's so important.
Dude. And on that slow down to speed up process, it's like, initially when you are creating that checklist, yes, that is a slow process, but it also happens like forever, because the same concept applies. Like if you're running through a transaction and something happens that you didn't know or wasn't on your checklist, that same idea of slowing down taking that extra 2 minutes, add it to your checklist, add it to your process will help you next time go faster. So
yeah, absolutely. And so if you think this is probably a shared, commonality across people that get started in the agent space, right? I think a lot of people start it because they want to control their own schedule, right? There's a lot of autonomy that comes with being a real estate agent, right? You get to go to work when you want, you get to kind of do what you want because it's your business. And we can talk about that. But it's not very often that, when agents start out, they end up living the opposite of the reason why they wanted to get started. They're chasing their tail all over the place trying to figure this thing out, right? And the reality is that it's a lack of efficiency, right? We are most efficient with our time in subjects and categories, and this is life across the board, right? This isn't just agent related things, but we are most efficient with our time in those areas, in those spaces that we have a solid check, like standard operating procedure, and we have multiple reps, within that task. Think about it like from anything, from like getting dressed in the morning, right? You do it pretty much the same way, right? It's some form of, underwear, pants, shirt, socks, shoes, something to that effect. Now, imagine if you approached it like as a new agent where you're like, oh, I really don't know what's going on. So today I'm going to do, let's do a left sock, a right sock. I'll do pants and then underwear and maybe a shirt. And it's fucking chaos, right? It's chaos. The same thing applies, right? We're really, really efficient at doing that task because we have a step one through completion and we have lots of reps accomplishing that task. So if we do that from the beginning, we are going to be exponentially faster and more efficient with our time on task as we grow and scale within the industry.
Yeah. I love that too, because anytime I found that, whenever you have to think, that slows you down so much too. So like, not only do you want to have the checklist so you don't miss a step, but also it removes the pause. Wait, what do I do next? Is that the right answer? Because that not only slows you down, but it also drains you because every day you only have, your cup refills, and every decision you make creates more and more decision fatigue in your life. And so by the end of the day, you can't make a decision because you've already burnt it out. But by having those checklists and those processes, it removes all of those little decisions that drain you throughout the day.
100%.
So, fucking love that.
I want to shift toward focus. As a new agent, you mentioned before, you can go in 101 different directions thinking that you are progressing when you are not. How do you remain focused? How do you know what topics, what things to focus on?
Love that
That's
question,
good.
Allie.
Thank you, Shelby.
Oh my God.
All the support.
Yeah. For Allie, not for you though.
Not John.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I have well-developed thick skin. I'm okay. So I definitely experienced this starting out and came to the quick realization that making money in real estate from the agent perspective is easy. Right? It happens in two solid steps. That's it. People have a problem. They either need to buy or sell their house. And you have to be the individual that's available to help them solve that problem. Right? So and that's it. Like yes, that's very wave tops and there's a lot of subcategories that come with that. But that is it. And I try to stay focused on those two concepts because as a new agent, especially within our brokerage, right? And if you kind of sign on with another team, there is so much, it doesn't matter probably where you sign up with. There is so much going on that in my opinion is nothing more than a distraction, right? You are not focusing on those two important things because of everything that gets thrown at you as possibilities, right? Oh, you can do lead gen this way and you should do this training and you should take this mentorship and you should go to this event and you should do this. And you're like, holy, like, when do I have time to actually work?
Literally
right?
never.
You could, yeah, you could go to trainings and events and sit down with coaches and do all of these things. And like the first couple weeks, I was like on a Zoom call, like every hour, it seemed like. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not selling, I'm not transacting anything. So I was like, okay, this is done. I'm not doing any of this. I'm going to prioritize, where do I think I'm going to get the most value? Make that a bare bones part of my schedule. And the rest of my time, I'm going to focus on getting in front of people, making sure they realize that I'm a real estate agent and the value that I can provide them with whatever their problem is. And that's how I've just kind of maintained my focus and will moving forward.
So what were those things when you're like, oh, I'm going to cut out all this noise and I'm only going to focus on the bare bones? Like, what were the bare bones?
So, I mean, I am new. I'm super new to social media. Okay. My last social media. Yeah, you're right, Shelby. I am kind of old. So I'll be 41. I'll be 41 this year.
That's endearing. It's great.
Yeah. So obviously there is incredible reach within social media. Whatever platform you have, it doesn't matter, right? It's irrelevant. You can talk to, potentially millions of people with a push of a button. Okay. My last social media was MySpace. And then since then it was zero, because it was highly frowned upon within what I was doing for work. So when I got out, I obviously realized that there's power in that. So that was one of the things I focused on, and not like I have it figured out by any means, but my focus was, I need to catch up with all the people that at least know me on a personal level. Most of them are within these spaces. Let's at least start with that and make sure they know the value that I can provide with any of their housing problems. And that was my focus and has been for a little while.
That makes so much, like marketing, like, everyone in the agent world, they all say lead gen, which is interesting because in the business world, you say just marketing as a whole, because you're building your brand, but you're also doing the lead generation and contacts and all of those things. So that totally makes sense. That was like a bare bone.
Yeah, that was it.
Yo, real quick, this podcast is not free. Cost of admission is sharing with a buddy who'd benefit or throwing it on your Instagram story. Tag us. We'll reshare that.
At a minimum, it really is just talking to people to set up appointments and going on those appointments. So how did you find, like, build your, not CRM, but just like your sphere? Where did you go to talk to them? Was it like your text, was it your CRM, Facebook, Messenger, etc.? And how did you provide that value? Because it's one thing to check in and say, happy birthday. Oh, you haven't spoken in 42 years. Cool. And then that's it, like, I'm a realtor. And everyone's
he's like, okay, 41.
Yeah.
So how do you, but you're you, right? Like, you're John, you have a great personality. How did you add that value after you spoke to them?
Oh, thanks.
That's so sweet, Allie.
Yeah.
I think
that's the first.
That's all you get from me, John.
That's it. That's the first good thing I think you've ever said today between the two of you. That was, I feel so much better about myself.
Dude, I don't know if you've noticed this, but we actually, the people who talk the most are usually the ones we like the most. There's like a direct correlation, at least for me. And now I've said that out loud. So people are like, she's only nice to me. She hates me. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes back, like who you are as an individual. I think, I guess how you're received by other people starts very young in your life, right? Like, you're building your reputation from the first moment with almost every interaction that you're having with someone new. And I've kind of kept that in the back of for my own reasons, right? I don't want to say prideful is probably not the right word, but it matters to me, right? Like, my name and my word, my character absolutely matters to me.
You give a
probably. Yeah. I really, really do. And I hate even imagining that I put myself in a position where I tell you I'm going to do something and then fail. It's the worst for me. I hate it because it means so much to me. And I think that's, people have realized that as they've come to know me over time. Right. So I've built a generally good reputation amongst my, sphere of influence, whatever we want to call it in the real estate world. Right. And so as I was growing as an investor, I was, and as I was seeing the power as an investor, I was doing, everything I could to share that knowledge with people in my sphere. Like, dudes, you don't get it. Like, this is absolutely powerful. Fucking listen to what I'm saying. So as I was doing that, I mean, I was cramming it down people's throats for no value. Like, I was getting nothing in return other than, I guess, being able to share that information and potentially changing somebody else's life. So they've been hearing it for years. And then when I made the transition into the agent side, it was like instant, additional credibility, right? They've already seen what I've been doing. And now they're seeing that I can actually help them through that transaction side of the of everything, of the business. And, sharing that information on a social media platform and just during every conversation, really, that people hate it because it always comes out of my mouth, but it's allowed it to throughout my sphere, just by people that know me and people that are interested in the space. And it's grown a lot just through that aspect of it. I don't know if that answered even close to what you asked me.
Let's get one more, like one layer deeper. What is it that you share on social media?
So starting out, it was a lot of investor type, like kind of, hey, this is us. This is what we're doing. And as of late, it's been more of providing So this is what I found. I found that there's so many options to choose from for people's attention, right? But there's still a lack of education. And the biggest lack of education, well, there's a lot, but a lot of it that I run into consistently is just understanding what the home buying process even looks like, and really understanding that it's a possibility, right? Because within the real estate industry as a whole, we've probably seen it, right? We see the real estate agents that are with their little ties, and they're maybe they're balling, they're showing off with they're driving their Tesla. You guys don't drive Teslas, do you? Maybe, I don't.
No. Piece of car over here.
But when people think like real estate from the industry perspective, that's what they see. Like, that's what they think. And when they see, in my opinion, right, like my people, when I say my people, like my military brothers and sisters, right, it's almost like a wall, like a barrier to entry, because it seems like it's not a possibility, right? Like it's like almost like they don't deserve to do something like that because like financial reasons, maybe. So to kind of backtrack, so that's what I'm seeing in the space is a lack of education that it's even possible. So I've been trying to promote the possibilities of not just investing in real estate and what it can do for you and your family's financial freedom, but helping educate them through the process of buying a home, just to put their minds at ease. And a lot of people, I don't know, it's paying off. I know people are getting something out of it, but it's kind of where I'm focusing my efforts as of late.
Yeah.
Okay.
John, you and I are in a pod together, and we were talking. It's when you had your nose surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So I remember I feel like this was in the beginning portion. I don't know as far as when, but anyway, you were like, I have like all this like on my nose, 2 black eyes, like posting a video. I was like, yeah, dude, you look like Alex Hormozy. Send it. And that was like really good. I like that on your social media, you post what you are doing. Like literally it's obvious that you're not going out there for the purpose of a social media post. It's what you're doing, your day-to-day, that you just happen to post on social media, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Way more efficient that way.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's a extra job in itself, right? You guys know it's not easy. But that's like, I don't, go ahead, Shelby, because I'll just keep talking.
No, I was just going to say, to loop it back to where you said, well, first of all, okay, to break it down, you said at the bare bones, you are focusing on marketing, and through that marketing, you are capturing what you're doing as opposed to creating new content with the intent of hitting the people who are in your sphere of influence and educate them on the possibilities of real estate. In essence, I believe. But one of the things that I loved is back when you said it's core within you that you do what you say you're going to do. And I just have to highlight real quick that we started a social media challenge 45 days plus ago at this point. And the challenge was that you had to post on social media every single day. And you said that you were going to do it. And the group started with 10 people. And I got to tell you, there's 3 people who have done it every single day since then. So congrats to you for doing what you said you were going to do. It's awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the only thing that makes me post, is because I said I was going to do it, because I feel I'm like, I have nothing to give right now.
Yeah.
But I got to come up with something.
Well, has that changed your business?
So it's actually surprising to me how much, interaction I've had with people like on Facebook. I get a lot of decent feedback from Facebook, probably because I'm old, right? So I know a lot of people and have, met a lot of people through the years, and they're all on Facebook too. But, yeah, I mean, dudes, I'll get hit up like, hey, I just had a call yesterday with a kid I used to work with probably 15 years ago. That's like, hey, I watch your stuff. I love it. Super educational. Like, keep doing it. This is kind of what I've been thinking. And I had a few questions and wanted some help kind of outside of, the agent side of it. But if I wasn't doing that on social media, like, that wouldn't exist, right? Those conversations wouldn't happen. So I've gotten multiple leads off Facebook. People find me, they're watching my stuff. They've reached out, and I've helped them close deals just through that single platform.
Powerful. And by focusing on the bare bones, which is the marketing lead gen piece. So, dude, okay, question. You mentioned this before when we were brainstorming about this first 6 months as an agent, and you talked about tech considerations. What are your thoughts on technology in this space and what you actually need versus what you don't?
Yeah, so I'm not sure what everybody else is doing. I know that there is a plethora of resources out there, right? And as I was onboarding, I was seeing all kinds of like, and every platform has its own thing, right? That makes it really, really good. And if you implemented it the right way, it would be great. It would really help your business, right? But there's a million of them. Right? There's a million things that you could sign up for, that you can pay for. Somebody's trying to sell you some, like, there's an infinite number of things. Again, the biggest thing is find somebody with a problem, a buyer or seller, and help them solve that problem. So how do I get in front of the most amount of people as possible? Social media. Once they reach out to me, I help them solve their problem. And I have to be able to keep track of how I'm doing that. So for me, my bare bones technology is Zoom, so I can talk to people out of state and have a good face to face and build that rapport and relationship. And then Monday, because I can keep track of everything for each client or potential client within Monday. And that's pretty much it. And then some social media. I bring them to me. We have a conversation. I keep track of this and I help you out. That's the bare basic bones for me in regards to agent specific tools.
With Monday, I'm curious. I've looked at it before and I've considered it. And then I saw that it is very manipulatable in the sense of like you can turn it into whatever you want, but it also, each one of that requires effort to build out and create. So how long did it take you to go from the checklist that you wrote right next to your wife and transfer it into Monday?
Yeah. So I have a bad problem with, once I've kind of identified a deficiency or a problem that I know needs to be addressed, I usually go kind of ham to bring it to fruition. Monday is definitely, look, there's a ton of other softwares and programs that do something similar that will do whatever it is that you need it to do, right? Monday is what I happen to stumble across because I used it for the investor side of the business and I knew it and kind of its inner workings. So to bring it from paper to Monday was a short time. But and I don't want to miss out on this, right? Because it goes back to the importance of slowing down to speed up. Okay. It might take you, look, if you just said, look, I'm not doing any real estate, I'm not chasing anything, I'm not doing anything, I don't have any clients right now. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend the next week on YouTube figuring out how to use this system, and then I'm going to build it. And when it's done, I'm going to be able to run 100 miles an hour. That is going to be more beneficial to you than chasing leads, chasing your tail, trying to generate some income, and then half putting together a system in the background. So it really doesn't matter. Stay focused. If it takes a week, it takes a week. Slow down and just build it right with the foundation.
Yes, I love
those
that
are my thoughts
so much. Yeah, no, for real. So, okay, you're posting on social media. You're doing stuff that you like normally do in the day to day, and posting on social media. You're posting on the Facebook, and you're getting leads come to you, which is great.
Yeah.
What else do you do in the rest of your day? Like that seems to me like it might take an hour. How else are you?
Yeah.
What does your day to day look like?
So I didn't get my real estate license so I could have another job. I didn't. I did it because it's a means to an end, right? I was interested enough. There's a lot of benefits that come with getting your license, and that's why I got it. I didn't get it to be 85 doing real estate transactions, right? I wanted to live my life. If I'm working past like 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, like seriously, if I am working doing this after 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I f***ed up. It's not what I wanted. I'm not chasing leads until I go to bed. I'm not doing this. You know what I mean? I just live my life. I do what is interesting to me.
Yeah, but what time do you get up? So someone's out there thinking, oh, I wake up at 10. I only have to work till 12 or 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you sleep till 10, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I got nothing for you. Seriously, what's your day? Okay. Wake up until.
Okay, we'll break it down. Yeah,
let's break it down. Yeah.
And it's interesting. and I'll go back and tell you what I'm doing different and why I'm doing different as of the past 2 weeks. So probably the past 10 years, I'm up at 4:30. I can probably count on maybe 2 hands how many times I haven't gotten up at 4:30. And I don't say it like that to sound like you got to get up early and crush the day. Like, no, that's not why. I did it because, I was on these deployments and doing these things, and that was the only time I could be by myself. And it happened to carry forward. Right. So that early wake up time was an opportunity for me to focus on my own personal growth and development. And it had zero to do with the actual like time of the day. It was just a time of the day where it was difficult, right? And nobody else was around me to basically validate what it is that I was doing. Right? No one was there to make sure that I was up at 4:30. So originally when I started getting up early, it was one because it was difficult, right? It was hard. But I knew that it was necessary. And it really came down to, am I able to build within myself the right characteristics and structure that I want to grow into as a man? And by holding myself accountable to that early wake up was one way that I could do it because it was difficult. And I stuck to it and I've been doing it for probably 10 years until as of late. And I'll tell you why later on. So I'll get up at 4:30. Probably in November or December of last year, I got a little kind of redneck kind of hobo, literally a farm water trough for animals that I have in my garage, or like the little gym space that I have at my house. And I walk downstairs, I I get butt naked. I get in the cold tub for like a minute. Like, I don't care about the science and what you get from it. Like, I do it because it's another thing. Like, wow, this is miserable. Every day I look at it, I'm like, I don't want to do this, but I do it. And when I'm done, I'm like, man, I'm really glad I did that, because I go from zero groggy to a million miles an hour in a blink of an eye.
So efficient. I love it.
I don't know if it's efficiency.
Efficient in waking up.
Oh yeah, 100%
efficient in waking up. Boom.
100%. I get out there and I look at it, I'm like, and then I just get in the tub. I get out, dry off. I walk in, I throw in some nicotine, grab a cup of coffee, and then I start jamming. I don't want to turn this into like some weird ritualistic morning thing.
Too late.
Because I think it's kind of overrated.
Just kidding.
But my goal is like, hey, wake the up, dude. It's a new day. Like, let's kind of get to work. You know what I mean? I'll do a quick little, I'll journal some of like, did I have some weird dream last night that solved the problem, whatever it was? Because sometimes you have those, right? You have
totally.
You wake up and you're like, you're like, holy dude, I figured this out. So I take that as an opportunity to capture those things in the morning, and then it's straight to emails. And I focus like initially on, this has kind of been my communication, I don't know, mantra, maybe, if you will. I don't know what you'd call it, but my communication standard is like, what do I know? Who needs to know it? And have I told them? Like, that's kind of my thing, right? So I'll hit the emails right away. It's like, is anybody waiting on me for anything? All right, get that shit off my plate, and then refocus.
And this is at what time? So 4:30. We're at what time right now? We're at like 5:03.
Oh, yeah, like tops, 5:03. Probably, tops. Yeah.
4:47.
I'm cranking. Emails are gone by 4:47 and 30 seconds.
Got it.
I'm done with that. I'm drinking my coffee. I'm kind of waking up, and I kind of let my mind just wander a little bit, right? Like, hey, if I want to read this, or I want to maybe watch or listen to this podcast or whatever in the morning, up until the time where I, kind of gym time. So it'll either be like a run or go to the gym or whatever, come back, crush breakfast. And then it's work related tasks, until like latest, like 1:00. I want to be done with everything. And then whatever happens after that is like, I'm free, dude. I can do whatever I want. I'm a grown up.
Okay. So work related tasks include, we already talked about, it is the marketing stuff. We already knocked out the emails. So work related tasks would be like appointments, like either Zoom or meeting someone, or showings. What other type of stuff are you doing between, after the gym? So like 7:42 between 1.
Yeah. So it might be like today, for instance, right? I had a client came in from out of town. He's never seen the house. I met him at the house at like 9:00. We hung out, we had coffee. He closed today. So I went to the closing, came back, got prepped for this because technology is not my friend. So it took me forever to set the shit up. So things like that, right? So, and it really depends on, on what my current focus is. So I have a list of things that I need to do, like broken down into different projects, right? So it might be, I need to make these tweaks on the website. I got to maybe add this as like maybe a marketing opportunity for the website and for one-on-one investor coaching. Like, it really depends on what I have that I've prioritized. It depends on what that is. And that's usually what gets inserted into that space. So it's not just the agent transaction side doesn't fill up a lot of that time. It's other things that I'm working on gets injected into that time as well. If that answers your question.
Yeah. Like working on the business instead of in the business.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Wow. Working on the business. Yeah. That's a whole nother topic in itself. Right.
Going on a
Yes.
complete like tangent. You mentioned, I want to kind of go back to when you mentioned your dreams. What did you dive deeper on that? Like, so you dream, you wake up and you're thinking about it. You said you journal. What does that look like?
Yeah. So I use Notion as one of the tools to kind of capture.
Me too. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, Notion's legit.
It's so good.
So
Okay.
I don't yet see the difference between Notion and Evernote, but
girl,
we
get
can
the
get
out.
that later too. I don't see the difference.
We'll fight later. Yeah, it's okay. We'll fight later.
Yeah, maybe there's not. It works well. It works well for me. What were we talking about? Dreams. Yeah.
Dreams.
So Notion for me is yeah. So I'll sit down in that journaling time that I give myself when I first wake up. Right. I open up Notion. First thing I go to is a little habit tracker. Right. So I click through. I have probably about 15 different, let's call them personal priorities, I guess. And I will just check through from the previous day. Like, did I do this? Like my wake up's on there, cold plunges on there, cardio, lifting, play the guitar because it's something that I'm trying to learn. There's like 15 different things that are on there. So I'll go back and kind of reflect. Like, did I do this? Did I do that? And it almost instills like a sense of regret if I didn't do it. So it allows me to kind of restructure my mind and plan moving into that day. So by doing it the next day, I can look back and think like, why didn't I do that? Like, okay, that's happening today, and make sure it's prioritized for that day. So I'll go through that little habit checklist and then just create a little like, hey, this is my daily journal for whatever it is, like 12 May morning. Like there's a morning, I have a template where it's set up like in a morning journal space and then like an evening recap that you can kind of do the whole day on one page. And I'll just, a lot of the stuff that I capture is if it's not, dream solutions that just hit my mind in the middle of the night, it'll be a lot of stuff around like how I slept. So I track a lot of weird data about like my sleeping patterns and things like that. I know I'm weird.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love
so
it.
That
good. Yeah.
That's our jam. Weird is our jam.
Yeah. So I'll capture those things within that same, journaling entry to see, and then try to think, if it's like a poor performance of whatever that is, like try to diagnose essentially, why is this not happening the way I think it should? And what adjustments do I need to make? So that kind of happens within that journaling space.
So what do you do when you have dreams that you said that sometimes answer your conscious problems? Like how do you make that connection? Or did I misunderstand that when you originally said that?
No, that's, yeah. So, I mean, just like I give myself a lot of time for reflection. So like if I'm not working a ton in the afternoon, I have more time to be kind of present in life, not chasing something specific. And I get the opportunity to think, right? To plan big. Like, what do I really want out of life? What brings me joy? Like, what do I get pumped about? What do I absolutely hate? Right. So that free time in the afternoon gives me that freedom to do that. But I've had dreams that have hit me in the middle of the night that I've literally gotten out of bed, like range to real estate. Like I still have it on my whiteboard right here. Was like a 2:30 in the morning, just startling wake up. That's like, I have it. And I just got up and came down here and just like a madman started just writing down on where I wanted it to go. So I think there's a lot of power in that.
Absolutely. Before you go to sleep, do you ask yourself any questions, or are you intentionally thinking about what does that look like right before you go to sleep?
Yeah, I definitely do that in some form or fashion. I think a lot of that comes from, kind of how I wind down a little bit at night. And I'm not perfect, right? Like if everything goes great, and it does for the most part, right? Those evening recaps are kind of an opportunity for me to kind of re-put things at the front of my mind that are important that I want to, that I very much do start thinking about as I go to sleep. Like, is there a problem that needs a solution? And I'll be thinking about that as I fall asleep. Maybe it's not the healthiest thing. I don't know. But I think
No,
there's written and talked about this subject
there
where
is.
putting those things in the front of your mind as you're falling asleep, let your subconscious work through that problem set while you are asleep. So I think it's absolutely powerful.
Have you guys read Why We Sleep? It's a book.
Yeah.
Why We Sleep. It talks a
Yeah.
lot about this, which is I love sleep so much. So I loved the book also because it talked about how productive sleep is because of exactly what you were talking about, both of you guys. It's like sleep is where your brain takes all of the different pieces of life, all of the different problems, and connects them together. And if you do not sleep, literally the book is like 8 hours, like because the first 6 are the ones where you're literally just like surviving, basically. And then after you hit past like 6, 7, and 8, it's like that last little bit of sleep is where all of the magic, and it's all backed by science, like not my little magic hands. But I thought that was super cool. So I'm with you on the dreams, and yeah.
I need to read that because this is what I've been doing. So, like I said, for 10 years, the 4:30 thing has been my wake up, my schedule. Up at 4:30, but I'm in bed by like 8:39 is just the truth, right?
Same.
But as of late, I've completely flipped this on its head, and I think I know I'm onto something from the personal level. So for at least the past few years, we've had one of those alarm clocks. It's like a sun, right? So you can set it and it just glows and you kind of wake up.
Yep.
But it's still a alarm clock. So because I track like my sleep data so much, I'm starting to see correlations within how much REM sleep and deep sleep that I get, that I was finding that even if I would go to bed early, I was waking up at that 4:30 time period with I was like in the middle of I'd wake up in the wrong part of the cycle, right? So as of 2 weeks ago, I go to bed when I'm tired and I wake up when I wake up. But now when I wake up, I'm also disciplined enough not to be like, oh man, I'm just gonna. No, it's like, oh, I'm awake. Like this is legit, dude. Like it's another day. And I feel incredible. So I know it's in direct contradiction to a lot of other people that are like, crush the, like, okay, there's power in that. But if you're disciplined enough to do that, then you should be disciplined enough to and know and understand the importance of listening to your body.
Yeah.
And it's a problem in efficiency. If you have to get up at 4:30 and work until midnight to accomplish your task, you better be a billionaire or you're not using your time efficiently. Like you have an efficiency problem. And I found I am way more.
I agree.
Yeah, I have so much more clarity over these past 2 weeks, like mental clarity, like emotional focus by getting the extra sleep.
That's
and
my
now
goal,
I just need
though.
to,
Like,
yeah.
Dude, that I said that like a year ago and I haven't done anything about it. So this is a good reminder for me. But like, I want to wake up naturally. Like I'm very similar with you. I'm like dead asleep by 8:30 or 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I'm up at, 4:30, so 4:35, somewhere in that range. But I wake up with my little buzz, my little alarm clock, and it's still a alarm clock. And I want to make sure that my body is getting everything it needs to be the best that it can. So, reminder, John.
It's important, man. I dig it.
I feel like
What are your thoughts, Allie? Yeah.
Try this. I love like experimenting with my sleep. And so right before I go to bed, sometimes I don't know if you guys have ever tried lucid dreaming, where you can literally control your dreams. So like as you're going to sleep, and I guess it might be similar to asking yourself a question that you want your subconscious to focus on as you're sleeping. I find when I ask myself a question that when I'm sleeping, it's a different type of sleep. It feels different, even though like when you wake up the next morning, it feels as if you've slept. But while you are sleeping, it's almost like that your subconscious is thinking about it, and like you're almost like watching it happen from afar, similar to like lucid dreaming, where I try this where right before you go to sleep, whenever you want, whether it's tonight or whatever. Tell yourself that you can control your dreams. And I do not. Like one time I was having a nightmare and I was like, hold up, I can control this dream. And I rewinded my dream and I took it from a part where like it started getting scary and I flew, like literally like flew away. I was like, I don't want to be here. Let me just do something else. It's so like experimenting with dreams is so weird. And I used to, this is like in middle school, high school, I used to like practice not using an alarm. I should do this again now where maybe it's because I was already on a rhythm, but I would tell myself again before going to sleep, I want to wake up at 5:45. And you will be surprised that you will wake up at 5:45. It's so weird. I don't know how it fucking happens, nice. But it does. Yeah.
That's wild.
That's wild. I'm gonna have to try that. The first one though, when you're like, I rewounded my dream and I flew away. I was like, girl, those are called. It's called LSD.
Totally sober, by the way. Totally sober. I swear.
I'm gonna get you a Dare t-shirt. I'm like, okay.
John, what apps do you track for your sleep?
Like so what apps do you use? My Garmin Connect is the app, and it just hooks up to my Garmin watch. It gives a ton of great feedback from cool. Sleep cycles to HRV in the morning. It does pretty much everything I need it to do. So how about you? Have you found something that works pretty good?
I don't track my sleep. Like, as far as with an app, I don't. It's literally just like me around. That's it. But I'm thinking about
do I feel good?
The like Cora the Cora ring. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Oh yeah.
That's on my list. It's my birthday list. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of power in that. Like, especially you're a data personality. Like, you're going to be super interested when you start seeing like the information that comes from that and how empowering it is. It's pretty cool stuff. You should definitely do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Well, I will. I'll let you know how it goes too. Let's head to the wrap up. The wrap up questions. We've spoken about a lot of apps and tools. What is your favorite? Business or personal? Your favorite?
Yeah. So, business wise, Monday, it just works for me. There's probably a million other tools that do the same thing. It's just what works for me. It allows me to kind of make my time really, really efficient. So Monday.com for that. And then probably Notion for everything else, right? Like, I think there's, what I miss, you guys just nerd chatting back and forth.
Yeah, we are doing that. But no, I was supporting your Notion plug.
Okay.
Real quick, if you're listening to this on Apple does not make it easy to leave us a rating. So I'm going to break this down for you. In the search tab, type in the Be More Show for Agents. Click on the thumbnail. Then click that middle tab that says reviews and click write a review. Tap on those 5 stars, of course. Let us know how awesome this show is and how it's helped you. And if that's too much for you, I understand, and just switch to Spotify already. Thank you so much, and back to the show.
Okay, well, the next question is, what events are you going to this year?
Just the Pillars Retreat. Yeah, that's it. I'm not getting caught up with all the other. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be dope.
Dude, I am so stoked for a ton of different reasons, but yeah. Okay, cool.
With the amount of stories that all the pillars have stated so far, I feel bad for the toilets.
Yeah. There's going to be extra porta potties around the perimeter of the building. So there's options for all of you. Yeah.
Don't act like you're above it.
Yeah. We'll make sure there's actually locks on the door that you're staying in, Allie. Well, you know what I mean? You'll have your privacy.
Oh, yeah.
About your shit
actually,
show.
Allie, we're sharing a room. That's Allie, no funny business in our room. Because John, you don't know this. You get a nice John gets a nice like king, room all to himself because it's him and Rebecca, the husband-wife combo.
Oh, that'd be dope. Yeah.
Dude, our room, which poor Drake and Mike are in a room by themselves, and then all the girls have like literally 2 king beds, a trundle bed. There's like a bunch of us in one room. So yeah, Allie, you gotta
I got one. I still don't know what I have to do.
I was gonna say no, keep the door locked if you're doing anything weird. But then Brit's not coming, so I guess it's not gonna happen.
Dude, okay. John, how can we help you in your business?
So I mean, a big like our avatar client is military personnel, right? So specifically those around Fort Bragg. So if you're watching this and you're on Fort Bragg, if you're interested in either investing in real estate or you're looking to buy or sell your house, like I want to be the person that helps you do it. So hit me up. It's John Fortier, just my name on Facebook. It's Range to Real Estate on Facebook and John the Investor on Instagram. So I'd love to connect. I'd love to help you out. John the Investor.
Spell your last name.
Oh, good point. Fortier. And then it's John the Investor on Instagram. But if you are the type of investor that is lazy and doesn't want to do anything, do not hit me up because I don't want to talk to you.
Preach. Love that.
That should be the quote.
Okay.
But if you want to shut the f up and learn, I will give you the shirt off my back, dude, to help you out.
Well, and that's where you can, dude, you knew our next question, which was where can people find you? So you nailed it. And in case anyone out there wants to find me or Allie is Allie the agent, and I am the Shelby Show on the gram. So holler at us. John, is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience, with listeners?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. It's always difficult getting started. Don't get frustrated. Find a right team you can align with, and it'll exponentially propel you in your career for sure.
All right. Well, that is it for today. You know what to do.
Be a bro and share the show. Thanks for listening, dude. If you want the golden nugget that this guest provided, see the show notes or just go straight to theagentgoldmine.com. That's where we keep the resources for you. Till next time.